Brock Purdy signed his big deal with the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers overpaid Brock Purdy.
Is this the whole cast of pop stars?
I think a lot of people cannot get over the fact that he was drafted last in the draft.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Irrelevant, and so something must be wrong. Also, sticking on football, Travis Hunter, what do you see here? Catching with the body.
His shoulders rise up before his break. But, I mean, you film anybody for practice, they're going to have a couple body catches.
NBA playoffs, Nikola Jokic hits for 2 minutes, and their opponent goes on a 13-0 run. Your entire team just letting you down, and just, can you come back in, bro?
Just try really hard on defense for 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Let him breathe for 2 minutes. Try really, really hard. Mike, how much do you think the way you look affects the way that you're perceived in the world? How much do you think your face dictates how your life goes?
What a good question. I would say 100%.
Okay.
And I hold that because I judge people by how they look so intensely, and I treat them by how they look so intensely. Only in terms of like, are you taking care of yourself type of thing.
Okay.
And so I think your face is a visual representation of all your decisions. So it's a fair judgment.
Okay. All right. So the reason I asked that is because I feel like there's an NFL player that is getting extremely judged based on how he looks and how people perceive him. Okay. Because he looks sort of like a little boy. He looks like a little kid, and we like football players to look tough and aggressive. This guy does not. And I am talking, of course, about Brock Purdy. And the reason I want to bring that up is because Brock Purdy signed his big deal with the San Francisco 49ers. 5-year, $265 million extension with $185 million guaranteed. This guy, Mike, was playing on a rookie salary for the last 4 years. So he basically made less than $1 million a year. And now he's going to this, which I think shakes out to be $53 million a year. Look at all these tweets back here. Just for those just listening, people saying, remember when some people thought Brock Purdy was better than Justin Fields? And then from the Atlantic, and on an NFL team scouting report, in the box listed for final grade, it simply read 2 words on Brock Purdy in all caps: no interest. Okay. And then we still, even like after everything that he's done in the NFL, he still has a ton of people saying, oh, the 49ers shouldn't have signed him to a long-term deal, long-term extension. And I know it sounds silly, but I seriously think it has to do with sort of the way that he's perceived. He looks and kind of carries himself like this nice little guy. You look at some other quarterbacks, they have all these huge physical characteristics, like Josh Allen is just massive, or Justin Herbert, or someone like Lamar Jackson, who is just so fast and has all these like really distinguishable talents in the top 0.001%. And Brock Purdy doesn't necessarily have that. I feel like he's just getting judged based on how he looks. And this is why he has so many haters. What do you think?
Fascinating right? Take. And I think it's a 1 of 1 take, but I actually, you were onto something with this, because we talked about this last week about the way, who's that? The end.
Clunky. Trey Henderson.
Yeah. His appearance, his perception, changes the way that people treat him in such a way, even though his actual production is valid. And it's the same. I think it's a similar thing with Brock. It's like, he's just a nice little guy. He's not going to make a big ruckus if we kick the can down the line of treating him, giving him what he deserves. He's not going to make a big fuss. He's very well mannered. Like, there is something to that completely.
Well, there is.
For some reason, it's just never acknowledged. It's never acknowledged.
Yeah, nobody likes to talk about it. I mean, but we talk about it like we talk about guys who pass the eye test, and all of a sudden, like, coaches will be so in love with a guy that sort of passes the eye test, and they'll be giving such a benefit of the doubt, even when their performance or like production is actually not as good.
Okay. Yes. It's like, so if a player passes the eye test in a coach's eye, then he is going to give him chances until he gets it right and proves him right.
Mm-hmm.
If a player does not catch the coach's perceptive eye test, then the second he doesn't prove, or like, he's looking for the mistake.
Yeah.
To prove that initial perception right. So the second he makes one mistake, he goes, I was right, get him out. Versus on the other end, well, I had this perception of this guy. Let's give him another shot.
Yeah.
In my mind, I thought he would be so much better. And so they give him 5, 10 tries. Anybody at 5, 10 tries is going to get it right. So it's so skewed. And I think it's something, I really do think it's something that like at coaching clinics and stuff should be brought to attention, should be analyzed. Like why is your own bias not something that's analyzed as a coach? In every other field of business, you look at your own bias, look at like, what's the reality? Look at the numbers. What's the bottom line? That's not something that happens in coaching.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I know it sounds like kind of silly that we're saying this, but there really is, and people don't really talk about it. There really is something to. I think that's like kind of my theory for why so many people are like, "Oh, well, you can't play Brock Purdy." I mean, and it's like, look at this, look at these statistics. Okay, I got to make this bigger. This is what he's ranked in the NFL in the last 4 years as a starter. First in passing yards per attempt, second in pass touchdown percentages. First in passer rating and tied for third in the most postseason wins. So this is among quarterbacks with at least 5 starts since 2022. How could anyone argue against that he's in the same realm and deserves to be paid the same as someone like Tua? Like he's just so much more productive. And I know so many people like to point to the 49ers system and Kyle Shanahan's system and the weapons that he has around him. But he also had a few games this past year without a lot of his elite weapons, where he still performed pretty solid. I know this year was not as good as, let's say 23. But then like this also brings into the idea of the anchoring effect, because I think a lot of people cannot get over the fact that he was drafted last in the draft.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Irrelevant. And so they're looking like something must be wrong. Like something must be wrong. And they're like anchored to that psychologically. And they can't comprehend the fact that, hey, maybe he was just way overlooked. And so what do you think about the anchor effect?
I think there's a lot of credence to that, to use a good word. I forget the point. Oh, like you were saying, they talk about him being a system guy. Like everybody uses it. They say, well, he's in a great system. If he was 2-3 inches taller, nobody would talk about the system because he would look the part.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's such a like a cop out, minimal thinking argument that people like fall to, that kind of stuff. But with the anchoring effect, I do agree with that. I think people it's just like, lazy thinking. It's lazy groupthink.
Groupthink. That's a good word. Yeah. It's groupthink there. Because like you just look at like do you know of
any other quarterback, like any other quarterbacks do you think are treated this way, or any other players in the league are you treated this way besides like Trey Hendrickson that we talked about last week?
I think if I think of quarterbacks, not really, because I think a lot of the quarterbacks in the NFL, the starting quarterbacks in the NFL, they at least have like some really distinguishable characteristics that sort of set them apart, and something that we could really like visually say, oh, that's elite. Like, okay, Josh Allen's arm strength, that's elite. Lamar Jackson's speed, that's elite. Mahomes' playmaking ability and like kind of magic, that's elite. But you can't really point to one characteristic, at least physical characteristic, I think, of Brock Purdy, where you say, oh, that's the top 1%. Like he's one of one. So I don't know. I think that he's just, what's that?
Poise.
Yeah, actually that's good. But you can't like, it's hard for people to
see. Yeah.
It's really hard for people to see poise. And I think that's a great one, that maybe he's top there in poise, and like also he's just exceeded all expectations. So
I have like the best poise.
I'm so poised. Show me your poise. It's hard to show your poise.
Yes. Coach, watch how poised I can be.
Watch how poised. You can say, hey, coach, look how fast I can run, or look how far I can throw the ball. You can't really say, look how poised I am right now.
Stand still.
So, I mean, I think there's something to that. So I am very happy for Brock Purdy. I think he deserves it. I think the people who can't get over or can't comprehend the fact that Brock Purdy deserves to be paid like this, like the other quarterbacks in the NFL, who he has been much more productive than in the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah, he deserves it. And it is also like he didn't take a Dak Prescott or get a Dak Prescott deal. He's not making 60. I mean, he's like making 53. But I don't know exactly where it puts him, but it puts him at like 10th or 8th highest paid quarterbacks. And we've seen, yeah, it's great. And usually every single time there's a new quarterback contract, it's a new record. It's like a new record set.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I think it's very reasonable. I think it's very much deserved. I don't know. I'm a fan of Brock Purdy. I support him, even though he looks like a little kid.
Yeah, he just does look like a little guy. A
What
nice
can you
guy.
Not he just seems so
We
nice.
should get
What
like
do
a beard or something.
I was
Rough?
gonna say, what do you think he could do? Like
I
try
don't
and go
know. I think part of the problem is he always wears a hat and he kind of just seems like a nice just like country farmer type of guy.
Yeah, it's tough.
I
He
don't
needs
know.
to let's just say maybe if you grow a beard or a little, at least a little stubble, like let it run out like this, Brock. Or maybe he likes to have everybody doubt him. I don't know. He just got $265 million, so he's doing just fine. All right, so there we have it. Brock Purdy getting the big contract. Okay, Mike, I'm curious about this. So Travis Hunter just obviously was drafted number 2 overall to Duval, my least favorite franchise in the NFL. I want you to tell me. So people are kind of freaking out about some of these clips that have come out of like rookie minicamp of him running routes and catching the ball. So, and they're saying it just looks really sloppy, really unpolished, and that he is not quite as good, at least of a wide receiver, as been made out to be. He kind of look a little unathletic, I guess, doesn't he?
Yeah. His shoulders rise up before his break. That's the number one thing DBs look for.
Yeah.
Pops up and then pops down. That's oops.
Yeah. Whoops. You should know that as an elite DB. And there's a couple other clips of him like doing a few other routes where it's just like he's doing like a hitch. I wish I had it. And it takes him a lot of steps to like break down and get out of the cut and come back. Like it just doesn't look
Interesting.
You'd think that it would look like really.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't need to be
Let me
polished.
watch it. You know what?
What?
He might have patella tendonitis.
Well,
Taking
you
that many
think?
steps out of the break? I could fix it. I mean, he does. He looks a little, a few extra chops in there on these breaks.
What should he do? Single leg
Obviously,
hamstrings?
1,
Let me
2,
guess.
3, boom. For your knees, I was selling a course online. He should do the knees over toes guy. He needs to target his VMO and make sure his kneecap's tracking correctly. If that is the patella tendonitis, that's when people take that many steps in their break, it's usually their knees are really bad.
Yeah,
Typical.
well, or maybe they have a bad MCL, like I did, Mike. Okay.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, it does. It just doesn't look like elite movement for sure. But I mean, these clips could be like your pre-practice warm-up clips. Like you don't know what point of practice this is. Like you could just be getting warmed up.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we're making nothing out of this. But also for me, the catch looks a little like it reminds me of this catch that a guy on my football team made in 7th grade, kind of like the dorkiest guy on the team. And he had a catch sort of like this, where it was, and it was a miracle. It landed in his stomach and he closed his eyes and he closed his arm and it got caught out of sheer luck. And that's kind of what the catch looks like, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Let me show you. This is a shout out to Jonah Yusuf. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. This is what like kids in elementary school or like in youth football who catch the ball or like be thrown it and they'd stick their tongue out like that. It's that.
Yeah, so you're saying that's what Travis Hunter's doing.
Yeah. But I mean, you film anybody for practice, they're gonna have a couple body catches, especially like before you're the first couple of routes before your hands are warm.
Yeah. It's a fair point. All right. Okay. So we're not going to judge him too much.
Defending him here. These are out of context clips, hopefully.
I hope that these are out of context and that they're just made to make him look really bad. They just don't look that athletic. I don't know. It just looks a little clunky. I've seen him look so athletic in other clips, like him playing basketball. Have you seen him playing basketball?
No.
It's just so smooth and it's impressive, and he just has incredible leaping ability. Look, very, very athletic there. All right, so that's been going around. We'll see how Travis ends up as a rookie, and actually, if he ends up playing both ways, the way that he wants to, and then the way that Jacksonville says that they're going to do. What do you think about that? Because you've got to be in meetings. It's not just a matter of being able to physically play both positions. You have to know the scheme and the playbook. And like when offense meets, defense meets. What do you think?
Yeah. But also it's like in college, good guys that play both ways and they just learn certain packages. Like you can be in 1 or 2 meetings a week and still be a contributor. Well, I don't know if you can be a full-time both way contributor, like just because of informational input wise. But he seems to have the
That's a good
cardio.
point.
My biggest question is money wise. If I was going both ways, I would say, give me 2 contracts. I'm not gonna just do this on a corner contract or a receiver contract. I want both. Double it.
He signed
That's
a
what
corner
my biggest
contract
would be.
and a wide receiver contract.
Yeah.
It's only fair. It's called commerce. No, I think that what you said about him being it just being like a package, like I could see him successfully being primarily a defensive player, and then the
Yeah.
Jaguars getting him in 8 to 10 snaps a game on offense, where they get him 5 touches or
Yeah.
whatever.
See, that's easy. You're full-time defense, and then you come over to offense to run your 5-10 plays per week that you're packaged for. Like that's easy and doable. I think that's the most realistic approach.
Yeah. Isn't that's kind of like what our brother Andy did with Oregon State. Like he's primarily a defensive player, and then he comes in for certain packages on offense.
Yeah. I think that's best. Andy and Travis Hunter are the only two two-way players.
It's appropriate we talk about because Andy Alfieri and Travis Hunter were the 2 most prominent two-way players in Division I football.
Most prominent 1 and 2. That's it.
Well, there you go, Andy.
It's literally true. So
he's just as prominent as Travis Hunter. I don't know though. Have you seen Andy run his routes? And he gets out of the breaks a little clunky too.
Well, it's just we're working on his hips. Okay.
Yeah. Tough. You get his hips. You get his hips in order. All right. I wanted to talk a little bit also sticking on football, Mike. And for those maybe you guys aren't necessarily aware or fans of, but I hope to make you a fan of the European League of Football, which is American Football League here in Europe, started back up again this weekend. Okay, and this is a professional football league in Europe that has 16 teams in I think 8 or 9 different countries. Very, very cool. Here, I'll throw this up. This is the breakdown of the games here this weekend. Okay, Mike, Mike, real quick. What country do you think this top one is? Top left, Fahervar and Farmers. Okay, try and guess what country.
Oh, Fahervar. That's geez, Fahervar? That's the city's name?
Yep. Yep.
Is it named after somebody's daughter?
Nope.
Fahervar. Poland?
It's kind of close.
Croatia?
Yeah. It's Hungary. Okay.
Okay.
There you go. How about this? The one right to the right of it, the blue one, the Wroclaw Panthers. It looks like Wroclaw. It's pronounced Wroclaw.
That's going to be Eastern Europe, Eastern Seaboard.
Eastern Seaboard. Well, Maryland.
Eastern landlock.
You have 5 seconds.
Poland.
Wow, good, nice. Wroclaw, Poland. Good job.
Good.
So we had this weekend, and some pretty good games. Actually, there's a lot of former NFL coaches coaching in this league. In this second game here, Mike, the Rhine Fire at the Paris Musketeers. That's 2 NFL coaches. That's Jim Tomsula, who was once, let's see, 7, 8 years ago, 9 years ago now, the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. And then Jack Del Rio of the Paris Musketeers. He was head coach of the Raiders and of the Jaguars. And so this league is like getting more and more former NFL guys into it. And watching some of the games this weekend, it was pretty legit football, right? Okay. And I think more people should become fans of the ELF.
My question to you is, how does it look different this year already than last year? Does it already seem bigger after the first week? Like, you notice any changes already?
I think the biggest changes is the league, like the one of the criticisms of the league, like last year, was too many blowouts. So like there's probably of the 16 teams, like 10 of them are pretty solid and 4 to 6 of them are kind of weaker, but the top 10 teams are very solid. And I think the biggest criticism last year was that a lot of the games ended in blowouts and like the scheduling wasn't so good, having all the top teams play each other week in and week out. And this season, they've like tried really hard. They rearranged the conferences and the divisions so they'll have more competitive games. Like here, we still have a few blowouts, but like for example, that Rhine Fire against the Paris Musketeer games with the two NFL coaches, that was a one possession ball game down to the final possession. And same here with the Hamburg Sea Devils and the Madrid Bravos. So I think that they've just done a really good job to kind of organize the schedules so that the competitive teams are playing against each other. Because there's also in Europe with football, there's such a disparity in the talent levels. Like, I mean, you played in Europe, you played in Germany and in Italy. You saw it, right? Like how different was the talent level in Germany than in Italy?
Pretty steep drop off from Germany to Italy. And just organization wise. But that's just, you're in Italy. It's just to have fun. This is what I love about Italian football is the passion of the coaches and how they ride the emotions of the game so hard. It's beautiful to see. There is the thought of controlling your emotions or like poise doesn't even cross their mind. It's stupid. This is how I feel. I'm gonna make decisions now in this state of mind, this emotional, and that's great as a coordinator, and I love it. It was really fun to play that. But in terms of like talent drop off, yeah, it was just different attitude. Like in Germany, it was very, very organized and there was more discipline, I think. But yeah, I think there's quite a disparity. And then even just like talent on the field, like we talked about before, you're playing against Americans, playing against somebody who played D1 or an NFL camp. And then then you make it to the second level and you're playing against a guy who's been playing football for 2 years. And so that wave within a play is almost harder than just playing against a uniform Division I defense.
Yes.
Literally like easier than playing against this disparity because you're making decisions based off of proper football technique of like, okay, this is his role. He's going this gap. If I set my track here, he's going to flow to that gap. But you're going against guys who don't know football that well and they blow their assignments or like they don't do the right thing. And you're like, wait a second. And then you get tackled in the backfield or something. You're like, no, I was right. You were wrong.
So they played so bad that it was good.
Yeah,
okay? Exactly. No, there actually is that. I had that also like as a linebacker trying to read offensive line sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, mostly in Germany, it's pretty good level, but when we play like a bad team, and you would have that exact thing, trying to read an offensive line, you're trying to pick up cues. You're like, what do they do? I can't read this at all. And then all of a sudden, the running back gets a 7-yard gain because he's right in your face because you couldn't read the offensive line and you hesitated. Yeah. But that's kind of a cool thing about
doesn't count.
Doesn't count. You didn't know. Take it back. It is kind of a cool thing about football in Europe. Because also like there's this new quarterback for the Madrid Bravos, Reed Sinnett, who he backed up Tom Brady. He was on a bunch of different NFL teams and he backed up a lot of he backed up Tua.
Italian league
no, he
played a guy in the Italian league last year who's Brady's backup in Tampa Bay. He had a Super Bowl ring.
Yes.
Really tall guy.
They were friends. They were in
and him and his brother were playing for his team in Italy. I forget, but
yeah. But no, those guys were in the room together at Tampa Bay with Tom Brady. And so, but this guy's like really, really legit, really, really talented. But in the first game, he kind of struggled a little bit because it's just adapting to football in Europe is different because there's like different speeds, just like what you were saying, and trying to get a read on things. It's kind of hard. But for everyone who's not a fan yet of the European League of Football, check it out. It's very, very cool. Mike, what do you, go ahead.
Was that difficult for you from last football you played was Georgetown? You had a year break and then going, or what do you think it was easier that you finished football at Georgetown, then took like a year off of everything and then came to Europe? And so kind of that transition of the different styles was easier, or
that's
was
a good
it still a
question.
struggle?
I think I still struggle. My first year in Europe was so bad. Like I was really, really bad. So at my wedding last week, the officiant was my former head coach, Mikey's former head coach, Jordan Newman. And he said, do you remember in his, what do you call it? The homily or the speech where he said, when he took me out after the first year that he brought me over to Europe.
Yeah.
And he took me out for a workout like 3 or 4 days after landing in Germany for the first time. He took out all the imports just to see, hey, all right, let's see how these guys move. put us through a workout, and I moved so slowly and so terribly. And he didn't tell me then, but he told me like 2 years later. I thought that I'd made the biggest mistake ever bringing you over here. You looked so bad and so slow and so
That is so
pathetic.
funny.
But as Jordan said in his speech at the wedding, I had not slept for like 3 days straight because I was so jet lagged. So jet
Yeah.
lag comes into play again. But I think it was still hard for me to adjust, and it's like it got easier and easier every single year. But that's kind of like a nuance about European game. What do you think? Look, I was at the Stuttgart Surge game yesterday, and they sang Country Road. Do you what is your honest thoughts, Mike, on people doing this in stadiums?
Is it your voice in the background?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
That's awesome.
Okay.
That's so
Okay.
cool.
Okay.
I love that. I love it when crowds do it. I struggle when I'm in a crowd and I feel like I have to sing in a group, or I struggle with that.
Yeah.
But when other people do it and I'm on the field, I love it so much. Love
Yeah.
it. That kind of stuff, like that kind of music, people sing like that gets me so hyped for football in the same way that the national anthem pregame is the best hype, like
Oh,
the
yeah.
best motivator ever. Like that,
National
there's no
anthem.
song I can play in my phone, in my headphones, that gets me more in the mood for football than just standing on the sideline and having somebody sing the national anthem or
What?
like a flyover. Oh my
You
gosh.
what? Little Dirk doesn't do it for you? I don't know. Is that it's a rap, right?
I listen to mumble rap before the game.
Yeah.
It tense up.
Really?
Yeah. That's the thing.
Really?
Okay. Here's my philosophy with these guys who listen to rap pregame. Unless they're
Okay.
playing defense. It tenses you up like crazy. You get so tense and angry. And I guess for a certain position on defense, good. But like offensively, wrong. Oops, wrong. So
What was your pregame song besides the national anthem?
I would listen to some opera music, Pavarotti. I was very loose.
Andrea Bocelli, Conte
Yeah.
Patrio, unbelievable. You just got you should get calm. I'm a
Uh-huh.
fan of that. Okay. But going back to this country roads thing, because this has like become such a tradition with football in Europe, where like the entire stadium comes together despite what team you're rooting for. And I think it's an interesting thing because in Europe, football is such a niche sport that of course the teams on the field like are competitive and want to beat one another, but there's also this overarching kind of family atmosphere because it is a small sport and everyone is rooting for the sport and they're kind of
Yeah.
like all fans of the sport together here. Excuse me. And I think that's kind of a cool thing that you have with football in Europe because
Interesting.
yeah, like in the States, no, it's the football is the biggest thing in America. And so
Yeah.
there's no need to kind of come together. Like 49ers fans don't need to befriend Los Angeles Rams fans in order to support the sport of football.
Yeah.
They can hate each other just fine. So there is a bit more of a competitive anger in America, which is
Yeah. Well, it's like because of the nature of football in Europe, it's meeting another football fan. That's a legitimate common ground because that's such a niche thing.
True.
Finding another football fan in America is nothing. Nothing. So then, okay, this is why. Because it's so standard. Find another football fan in America, that's nothing. Find another fan of your team, now you have something. In Europe, it's still so early. As long as it's football, we're fine. But in a couple years, it's going to soon become, it's football. But now, what team are you rooting for? And then the common ground is going to take another step up.
That I like that theory a lot. So it's kind of in the preliminary development. So it's just sort of in the life cycle within a sport. You know, I bet if we look back, probably at niche sport. What's a niche sport in America right now? Like pickleball? No, it isn't.
Pickleball.
Yeah, but there's not
Kinda.
Yeah, but there,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
But actually, you know what? People do bond over pickleball. Kind of
Yeah.
annoying. They're like, "Oh, you like pickleball? Oh, I love pickleball." Like, it's a little bit. There is something to that. You ever play pickleball?
Yeah. So I love it so much. Me and Luke play a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I used to play all the time in college and then over at the ranch over in Bend. It's a blast. It's
Luke,
really good.
Luke, friend of the show. Been on the show.
It's hard to
twice.
play him because he has the wingspan of the court, so it's just not there. It's like,
Hey, pterodactyl.
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So there we have it. Football in Europe. It's different, but it's cool, and you guys should check it out. All right. Let's lastly touch here on NBA playoffs. Because now we have the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference finals set. Now, this is kind of interesting. Okay, Mike? With the final 4 teams in the NBA playoffs, here we have the last time each one of these teams won an NBA title. We've got the Knicks, the Pacers, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Last time the Knicks won was 1972, 1973 season. That's over 50 years ago. The Pacers, the Thunder, and the Timberwolves have never won an NBA championship. So I'm not going to say it's 75% chance that one of these teams wins because who knows, the Knicks might have a higher percentage chance to win, but there's a pretty good chance that there's a new team that will be winning the NBA championship this year. What do you think about this, Mike? Do you like, or do you think it's good for the sport when new teams like this are able to have the pinnacle of success and win the championships? Or these are smaller market teams too. That's the thing. Oklahoma City, Minnesota, and Indiana, and it's not your LA, it's not your Miami, it's not your Chicago. But what do you think? Do you think that's good for a sport to have kind of the new guys possibly winning it?
Yes, but I think it's more lagging benefits. Like, I think it's great. You want more good franchises. You want more franchises that have championships because it raises the level of the whole league as a whole. You know, you don't want that discrepancy in talent, kind of like what you see in the ELF, like we talked about. You
Yeah.
don't want this wide range. But I think for like a small market team and they win, I think you don't really see all the benefits, I guess, financially for that. It's kind of a lagging thing.
Yeah,
Versus
lagging
if a big
indicator.
market team was to win, like way more people are going to come, way more people are going to be invested
Yeah.
up front. But I think it's more of an investment from an NBA perspective for a small team to
That's your point.
win.
But this is
What do
also
you
like
think?
where this is like where the NFL just dominates so much because I think you're right. Like if you're gonna have small market, like if the NBA Finals was Lakers Celtics, it's gonna get crazy TV ratings. It's gonna be absolutely like massive for the NBA in terms of NBA terms. Um, for the NFL, whatever teams are in the Super Bowl, granted, there's probably a slight disparity if maybe some more popular teams are in the Super Bowl, but the Super Bowl is just going to be a killer TV product, even if it's small market teams like Kansas City. I mean, that's one of the more popular teams, and it's a tiny market team. And so this is just like to me where the NFL has done such a good job, and that's why I am excited about the possibility that maybe a new NBA franchise will break in and win the championship because I think that's just good for a league to have smaller market teams be able to have success. Speaking with or sticking with the NBA playoffs. Okay, look, this is a hilarious stat. It's kind of sad. Okay, so for the Denver Nuggets, everything goes through Nikola Jokic, and he barely gets to sit on the bench and get a rest. Okay, it's for 2 minutes and their opponent goes on a 13-0 run. I say his teammates let him down so much. Then for those just listening, the tweet says no other player in NBA history has had to deal with this. It's like even when Michael Jordan went and took a breather for a couple minutes, like the Bulls were still able to play defense. This is just an example of your entire team just letting you down and just can you come back now? Just can you? We can't do anything without you.
They can't even hold the line. They can't even just like hold the line. Keep it neutral. Like you don't have to further the gap. Just don't blow it. Just immediately blow it in 2 minutes, 13. That's wild.
Or at least like not a 13-0 run in 2 minutes. That's like a very big drop off.
That's a completely an effort thing. Just try really hard on defense for 2 minutes. Let them
2 minutes. Let them breathe for 2 minutes. Try really, really hard. As we talked about, like with Scott on this, is defense in basketball is literally pure effort. It's just like trying hard. Like anybody can be good at defense in basketball if you just. It's all effort. Move your feet.
That's why he can get mad at this because that's just disrespectful. It's like we don't have to. He can shoot it. He can drive. It's fine. He's gonna be back in a couple minutes. Yeah. So I don't really need to exert my effort right now. I need to guard this guy that hard.
But you know what's funny is I think if any player doesn't really care, it's probably Jokic because he doesn't really care about basketball. All he cares about is his horses in Serbia. He's probably
What do
happy
you
to be
think about that approach as a professional athlete?
Oh,
What do you think about that mindset?
I feel like it okay. I feel like right now it's only available, that's the wrong word, but to European players. I cannot if you grow up in the United States and you make a professional sports league, that was probably you grinded unless you're I mean, unless you're just physically unbelievably gifted and you didn't have to work hard. I don't think there's really even any examples of that. But if you got into a professional sports league in the NBA, you care a lot about that sport. But you grew up in Europe and you're 7 feet tall and you just have all these gifts. Like you watch him play basketball, and it looks so strange. It just looks just he's just bigger than everybody. And I think that this is strictly a European attitude.
Yeah.
Um, because I mean I can't imagine like an American guy, at least none come to mind that would have this attitude. But it's also a little bit endearing, kind of, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good to have that attitude sprinkled into a league, kind of for people to
Yeah.
be like, listen, it's just a game. I don't,
Yeah.
I just want to go and see my family. I think it's good to have just a healthy dose of that. But also, I do think you need to have the stars because it's a standard to look up to as kids and as people. Like, I think the difference for like, it doesn't seem like he grew up watching basketball and dreaming of basketball. It was
Yes,
like
yes,
if
exactly.
he was playing, it's like he wanted to be a soccer player. He growing up in Europe, he was watching
Yes.
soccer, but he just got too tall, and he's like, I guess I gotta play basketball.
Grew
That's what
out
it's
of it.
like. Yeah,
That's exactly what it feels like. It's just like he's just like, yeah, I mean, this is my job. I have the skills and abilities for this job. And that's how I make my living. And that's basically it. And I don't think that I can't think of any American players who have that. But you know, I kind of it's fun to have a guy like that. Okay, last thing. I know I said NBA stuff was the last thing, but I just think this is such a cool ad. Okay. And it is let's see. Scotty Scheffler won the PGA Championship Tour this past weekend. Okay, and I don't know if you know, but last year he got arrested around this time. Just had to stay like the night in jail, and it was like a disorderly conduct. I don't even know exactly. It was minor, but he got
it was a
arrested.
bunch of he said, she said.
He said, she said, you know, sort of stuff. You know, didn't even stick.
Didn't
But
stick.
Nike released this ad because he's a Nike golfer, and it says best player in the world, guilty. That is so cool. I think that's a fantastic example of very good sports marketing of leaning into sort of the bad stuff because that's a
Yeah,
memorable ad, don't you think?
yeah, that's great. That's beautiful. You as a marketing major must
Yeah.
have a great appreciation for this.
I appreciate it very much. Okay. I just wanted to throw that out there. Good job, Scotty. He's actually won a couple majors now this year. He's having a pretty good year. So, Mike, are you golfing down there?
I haven't golfed once.
Oh my gosh.
I need to start. I need to start doing it again. I just haven't had time. Just so busy.
Yeah, busy. You can't get well, we can go golfing.
There's a golf course literally 300 feet from the office. Like I can see it from here. I should go over there.
You should go there. Okay. Then you
Yeah.
can be like Scotty Scheffler. Guilty. Okay. All right. There we have it. Brock Purdy gets his money. Got you guys introduced to the European League of Football. And Nikola Jokic has really bad teammates. Okay. Yeah.
Do you? It's the ELF are like, or how are the ratings looking? That's like, what is the trajectory? Do you have any inside knowledge on
I
like the
don't have the
numbers or like what
numbers. I
things
actually
normally would
don't
be
have the
like?
numbers, but I think there's a TV deal until 2026. And I think, oh, well, you know what's cool is the ELF got a distribution deal with DAZN, which is like the international provider for a lot of sports, and NFL Game Pass is on there. So it's like if you get NFL Game Pass, you also get ELF. So I think it's going to expose it to a lot more people. So I think this year is kind of a really big year for it. So
Wow.
you can watch it in America.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's exciting.
Very
ELF,
exciting.
I think, has the most potential out of any league in terms of like to compete with the NFL in a sense, like UFL, USFL, like all these leagues that pop up and die. I
Yeah.
think ELF has the most potential.
So do I, and it's
far.
also, like, kind of outliving some of those other ones, like the XFL
Yeah.
and like, it's on year 5 right now because it knows what it is. Those other leagues, I think it's impossible to compete with the NFL in football in America, but if you're in Europe, you're far enough away,
Yeah.
do it in the off season, there's some hope there, so that's what it's about. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Once again, 2 brothers with Mike. You guys stop wearing black shirts when I wear black shirts.
This is all I have in my wardrobe. I'm like a
We'll get
cartoon
you.
character.
Yeah, you are a cartoon character, aren't you? All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one.